culture is actually not
LeBron, be a man!
Tank Bulls. They're so uncared for that America outsourced this game to London. Maybe someday those chaps won't get teams that grind their dicks into a blender. And maybe someday the Dolphins will learn not to rupture our fucking spleens when they have a shred of expectation. Remember when we thought Chan Gailey was the thing holding back Miami's offense from greatness? Yeah, those were some good times. This team is such fucking trash they're strangling fish in the ocean. Jacksonville has lost 20 consecutive games to this point, yet with how badly their everything is played, Urban's gonna be looking for young tail at a club tonight. Maybe he'll find an exotic girl named Tua Turndabalova. Despite the Dolphins' 17-3 lead, we realized that Trevor Lawrence was hyped as a top draft pick. In spite of being handicapped by shitty coaching and no talent, the Jags are sneaking their way back into this game. Be lucky that this nearly botched punt was inconclusive. The fact that it's this close, this late, I smell bullshit on the horizon.
54-yarder, nope. And got it!
What the fuck, so now we're imitating free kicks because we're in England? Good to know. And good to know the Dolphins are back to tanking even though they don't have their first-round pick. You worthless assholes. I don't even want to see the final drive for Jacksonville. Just end my life in perpetual disappointment.
To win it. It's away, and he got it!
Jacksonville wins their first game since Phillip Rivers was dadgumming the field. Fuck you, Miami. But to cap your blowholes with flex tape. I had faith in you cunts! Welcome to how Houston felt last year, boys. You blew it! This Injury Bowl disguised as a Thursday night football game is brought to you by the NFL's insatiable quest for money. Because fuck you and fuck your precious player safety. Don't they know that the NFL literally ended racism over 6 times in the last few weeks? This hellish landscape is a true test for the Packers. They were without 3 of their top wide receivers, David Bakhtiari, Jair Alexander, and more against one of the best units of this young season. The Arizona Cardinals still have much to prove as an up-and-coming team. Beating a contender like Green Bay will look incredible on their resume. If only they could get past the Packer defense holding like it's the Battle of Thermopylae. Give it enough time, those 11 guys will fall with enough men thrown at them. They eventually did, but they're chasing Aaron Rodgers in his brief transportation into the meme dimension. Time is getting short, but Cheeseheads have a chance at sealing a win. They assert their dominance in the running game, and are now at the goal line lining up for the finisher. The dagger is in their hand. Can they drive through the zombie and kill it?
Rodgers keeps, flips it.
They went for the heart when they had to go for the head. Big mistake, Green Bay. I don't disagree, they had to go for it. The Packers defense couldn't stop a child from picking them apart, and a field goal wouldn't have been enough. Weird play call, but right idea at the 1-yard line. What an absolute shocker, the Packers defense can't stop a child from picking them apart and runs amok around the field. Arizona's gained over 80 yards with ease as time to play with and overtime is coming at minimum. Take it away, Cardinals.
Snap again. End zone and picked off.
All that incredible momentum and you end the game like that? It's not even a play call issue. What the hell was AJ Green doing? Did he not expect the ball to be thrown at him or something? Check the batteries on your controller before the game, for fuck's sake. Maybe not, but somewhere in Miami, a certain team is prepping for celebration. The 72 Dolphins remain the only undefeated team in the Super Bowl era for another year. Considering how bad this season's been for Miami, it may be one of the few victories they have on their season. They do say things like that get better with age. This is how Tank Bowls should be played. Both teams doing everything in their effort to lose this contest. Every single one counts on the road to the number 1 pick. The Dolphins may not have their first rounder, but with 2 out of action yet again, they must rely on Jacoby Brissett to ruin everything. Tyrod Taylor may be back for Houston, but he and Miami got into the spirit of the tank by running a kitchen for the less fortunate. 3 turnovers for the homeless. 9 of them in total. Many left the rec center with full bellies tonight. This game was a shit show. Sloppy football, chaotic execution, and desires to punt away the season for a brighter tomorrow. It was abysmal perfection. The worst part of it all was that it had to end. The Dolphins saved themselves from more humiliation and allow Houston to win the almighty Tank Bowl. Their quest for the top draft pick continues on. The only thing that would have made this game better was if Sparrow Ditas was on the call. The Jets know that Tank Bowls need to be special occasions. Fans may want to see if Mike White can bounce back after a terrible game, but there is no need. This event needs a master of ceremonies. And that man's name is Joe Flacco. Who cares about figuring out what we need for the future? New York needs to win football games, the executives will cry. But I know why you started the master of the checkdown. It's for that wonderful tank. Miami doesn't have their pick this year and you wanted to do them a solid? That's relatively noble of you, thinking long-range game by losing to the Dolphins in a game that just existed. Besides a really solid performance from Tua, there was nothing all that notable about it. Ask anyone on the streets of New York about this match and you'll just get puzzled looks on their faces. It was a contest that was only played to fulfill TV contract obligations. Maybe for Miami to believe they have a chance of sneaking into the playoffs? Possibly? Certainly nothing that the Jets would want to remember. Force Washington to end tradition and change their name, yet we are still subjected to watching the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. Couldn't they have at least pushed this game to the 4 p.m. window so we could all pass out for a few hours after dinner? Like most disasters in Chicago, it's a mismatch of misinformation and confusion. Rumors were swirling about Matt Nagy's overdue firing as coach after this game. They tend to be taken with sincerity when they're told by a Pulitzer-winning reporter. And it's exacerbated when people are chanting "Fire Nagy" not only at Bulls games, but at his son's high school football matchups. Chicago then returned to quietly stewing about how terribly run the Bears are as George McCaskey reiterated that they are accountants. And firing a coach in the middle of the year isn't financially efficient. You may have noticed I haven't mentioned anything about the game itself so far. Would you rather me lecture you about how pathetic it was? Are checkdowns on 3rd and 32 considered to be peak football? The only positive thing I'll say is that Dan Campbell has embraced the spirit of the tank. With how badly he botched the play calling and game plan, it's the kind of ineptitude we haven't seen out of a coach since Freddie Kitchens. Chicago's final obnoxiously long drive? Oh man, Salvador Dali's envious of seeing a clock this mangled. The Bears won out of spite for themselves. Detroit is miserable since they're still winless. Chicago is stuck with Matt Nagy as coach for another few weeks, and everyone who watched even a second of it feels like they wasted their time. No one won. Except for the NFL, because we'll willingly see this slop. Festivities of Tank Bowl are always a wonderful time. So many traditions. The New York Jets. Zach Wilson returning from the dead to die again. Tyrod Taylor. Sparrow Ditas on the call! It's a dream tank-off as one can imagine it to be. My only regret was that it wasn't at MetLife Stadium where all great tank bowls are played. Things were looking quite perilous for the Jets at first. Too many unforced errors, too often did the defense fall apart. But they have a few things that Houston lacks. They have resolve. They have determination. They have a defense that rebounded to form. And they also don't have a really good reason to tank for a top draft pick. It'd be nice for them to get a Thibodeau or Hutchinson for the defense, but it's not super important. The Jets show us by the end of the game a truth. That the Texans suck. Such a scorching take, I know. Houston gains ground in the relentless tank for something? What do they need besides everything in the offseason? Out of all the games that needed to be delayed due to COVID, this game was unfortunately unaffected. Even Corona-chan wants little to do with how awful these two franchises are. Houston has a few cases of COVID, but nothing that's going to undo them against a team kicked by endless drama like Jacksonville. James Robinson finally got some goddamn carries. But the real highlight here is a fan completely unimpeded in the end zone as he ran for a touchdown. The Jags will be signing him to the practice squad with his impressive evasion skills. With the game we saw today, you'd have thought that the top quarterback prospect was Davis Mills. The general properly dissected the remnants of the urban battalion to celebrate a seamless victory. As the troops march home to Houston, the Tank Bowl standings have a massive shakeup. With glorious losing, Jacksonville stakes claim to the #1 pick in the draft. In response, Urban will somehow kick it out of their hands because he's still deflecting blame like a Pro Bowl cornerback. This next match is far more important than anything else happening this week. A duel of shit to bring the true victor a prize perhaps greater than victory. That's right, my friends. The Jaguars and Jets. Both franchises expected to be heavy favorites in the 2021 Tank Bowl standings will potentially settle the great question of our times. Who will secure the first overall pick in the draft? The top two prizes of last year's Tank-Offs are fighting to forge their own legacies, but have struggled immensely for varying reasons. I may worry that both are being ruined, but Zach Wilson flashes the talent that earned him the right to be a top draft pick. Incredible running performances against a weakened Jacksonville unit, to be fair, are giving Jets fans a reason to hope for something greater. So many plays worthy of Tank Bowl that the only way to properly call it is with Sparrow-ditis. Both teams are moving the ball differently. The Jets exposing Jacksonville's weak run defense and special teams, and the Jags picking apart New York's JV secondary. We have an intriguing contest headed down to the wire. There isn't a clear-cut top draft pick this year, so no real reason to tank hard, barring a desire to blow everything up, but both teams did so already. New York has a clear chance to finish Jacksonville off at their goal line, but they cannot penetrate their weakened defenses in time. It's still a one-score game. Now we can begin the legend of Trevor Lawrence. He hasn't had an elite comeback drive in the NFL yet, but there's a first time for everything. Look at how Jacksonville charges towards the goal line and see the future for yourself. They're down to the Jets' one, and a win is so close to their grasp. All they have to do is take it.
4th and goal. Here they come. Lawrence to the end zone.
Even if they did somehow make it, it would have been an illegal shift and 5-yard penalty. Figures Jacksonville fucks it up in the end, but take comfort. Consecutive Tank Bowl championships are in your grasp. All you have to do is lose to the Patriots and Colts, and the first overall pick is yours. The last Tank Bowl of the season. It's a special time for the New York Giants. No matter who loses, the Giants win. But they know the stakes of this pivotal jockeying for draft position. When you willingly start Mike Glennon, you already know you're losing more than this game. You're losing dignity. And it's all for that fantastic tank. The Bears might be starting Andy Dalton, but they might as well have been starting a wooden plank. They still would have won by multiple scores. The fucking Afghan government put up a more valiant defensive cabal than the G-Men did in this game. You. Yes, you. Sitting in a chair on the toilet watching this shit through for more yards on Sunday than the Giants did. The definition of insanity is doing the same shit repeatedly and expecting different results. But wait, this is different. Didn't you hear Joe Judge's rant about how there are like 2 practice squad players that want to be on the Giants? He's tough and no nonsense because he's from Philly. And he'll pelt you with batteries if you question his methods. If ownership won't get the message that this is a clown show, maybe a former player or two could scream it to them. Dave Gettleman's an incompetent piece of shit? How is this supposed to be news?